Run towards me. We stand in the fact that you died on the cross in our place, that we would live, that we would be risen again, Jesus, because you made the sacrifice, Father. We stand in absolute awe of your goodness, in awe of your mercy, in awe of your glory, Jesus. We don't deserve a moment of this, but you gave your Son so that we could be with you in eternity. Holy Spirit, we thank you, we love you, and we praise you. In the name of Jesus, the victorious name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Let's give him a big round of applause. That was amazing. Well, possibly somebody who deserves your applause more. Our loving Heavenly Father, let's give him a big round. You know, he's the very thing that gives us something to sing about, doesn't it? You know, because actually, although we love Sam, he's not going to save my life or yours, is he? I know that sounds like a bit of a cliche. We do love you dearly. And it might make my life a little bit better every time I see you, but it's the Lord Jesus Christ who saves us, yeah? And we've got something special. I've seen it, it's very special. And it's a new thing that we're going to introduce. You might have seen a bit of a different kind of structure to the service so far, and we're going to continue that. We've got some amazing talent in this church. Unfortunately, they weren't involved in this. But as we take up our tithes and offerings, and of course, feel free to, even if you're a visitor, if you want to contribute to the workings of this church, then that'll be fab. But it's a time for us just to have a wee look at a special video. I'm not sure where our offering bag is. I'm assuming somebody, there we go, Gareth's got that. So add to it if you want. Don't be embarrassed by letting it pass you by. Some people will give by standing order and so on. So it's not like we're being miserly, it's just that we give in a different way. So, coming up, a little video. And after this, maybe if the youth want to go out and so on, but you might want to just see it just for a laugh anyway.
Today, Sam is starting our new series, Back to Sunday School. Sam's going to have a look at the profound impact some of these stories can have on our lives today.
Coming up Sunday, 23rd of September, we have our baptism service. We're so excited. It's going to be at Cornerstone at 12 o'clock midday. Bring all your friends and family. We're going to be celebrating people coming into the faith. If you want to test what baptism service is going to be like, have a look. See you there. The church runs off volunteers, so if you want to lend a hand, there are so many places that you can serve on a Sunday morning. You can serve here, serving teas and coffees.
Or you can serve here,
or here,
as part of our worship team. Or you can help us here on the welcome team. Or you can help with me in the youth ministry, or with Sarah in the kids ministry.
So if you're interested in volunteering, whether on a Sunday or during the week, grab someone in the lanyard and they'll point you who to go to. Cynon Valley Church is a family and we love meeting together. So we have purpose groups, which are little groups of people that chat about Jesus, chat life with each other. They meet every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. They're in different locations, so if you want to know where they meet, come and have a word with me after the service and I'll get you plugged in. Thanks so much for listening to Cynon Valley Church News. If you want to get involved or you want to know more about what's going on during the week, come and grab someone in the lanyard and they can help you out. If it's your first time here, we want to hope you've had a great day and know that you're very welcome. See you next week at Cynon Valley News.
In a seamless transition, the kids and youth now can connect to what? Yes, good point to know. Can I have a mic?
Do you want a mic?
Yeah, good on. I know my voice is loud.
I was about to say, you see, so I didn't give you
So,
the mic.
what's really exciting is the baptism service has changed. It's given us, thank you, Elijah.
It's given us a little more time to prepare. I'll explain why. That's not just because we're ill-prepared. That is because the wonderful Cornerstone building is having a big rebranding, big redecoration. So that is starting next Tuesday coming and going on for 2 weeks. So obviously, they have to do everything up in the air. So baptism service, we spoke with them. We had 6 guys come to our baptism service preparation. If you couldn't make it, come and have a word with me. There might be a possibility for me to, obviously now we've pushed it back, I can meet with you personally to talk it through if you're interested in being baptised. So we're really, really excited. As you can tell, I'm going to be preaching hop-along style today. My knee's almost there. Hopefully I'll be off crutches in a few weeks' time, about two weeks on Tuesday. So I'm excited to get off, so hopefully I'll be back to business. But how's everyone doing, first of all? Is everyone all right?
Yeah.
That's a good response on a nice, horrible, grey, wet. I love being up in Fernhill. You can barely see the other side of the hill. We can barely see your farm to enjoy. It's fantastic. It's not that because I can't see it, but I just think it's cool to be this. You know, it's not often you're inside a cloud, does it? Think about that. We're inside a cloud currently. No relevance, but I just thought I'd bring it up. So I realised I haven't actually preached a sermon for about 6 or 7 weeks now. So actually, this is a real sort of blessing. Obviously, we had a great series of different people bringing different stories, and so it's an absolute pleasure for me to be back to you today. We're obviously starting our Back to Sunday School. So I was sort of thinking and praying and saying, God, where do you want me to go with this? Where do you want this sort of series to be about? And for so many of us, we grew up in Sunday school. For some of us, we didn't, but maybe we've heard of those stories through either, just the pure fame of them, things that, especially one that we'll be looking at today, which is David and Goliath. A lot of you will probably know that story. If you don't, then I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but it's got a good ending. But what I wanted to do is look back to these and go, so often they have the normal meaning. People preach the same messages on them, the same sort of things. But I felt like God was saying, Sam, I want you to look a little bit deeper. I want you to say, do you know what? These aren't just stories for kids. These are stories that impact. When we look at these people, they impact our lives massively. And what we need to do is just maybe look a little bit deeper and go, okay, God, what are you teaching me through this? What are you saying to me that can be relevant to me today? And so I wanted to just before, we're not going to read it right now, but if you've got a Bible, if you want to turn to 1 Samuel 17, we're going to get to the story of David and Goliath. But as you're doing that, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been given advice which came from the right heart, which was kind, which they wanted the best for you, but they just didn't know you quite enough to really give you that advice? Maybe it didn't actually help you in the long run. Has anyone ever had something like that? You look back and you go, oh, I wish maybe I hadn't taken that advice. I had one of these stories when I was just a wee lad, about 15, and it was at our youth group. And at our youth group we had a big skate park in the back. And now, for those of you who don't know me, you might think, great, you're young, you're hip, you're cool. Well, you might not think that. But you're young, surely you can skateboard. That, must work really well. But if you knew me, as my wife does, she would know that on anything with wheels, I am like a stick insect on ice. I'm just, like that. I'm quite hard to do this with my knee. I'm appalling. But I decided I want to be cool. I was 15, I wanted to fit in, I wanted to be one of those Avril Lavigne was singing about her skater boy, and I wanted to be a skater boy. I wanted to get Avril Lavigne. Look how that turned out. And so for a week I sort of practiced, and then I go to youth group on a Friday, and I go up to the skate park with a skateboard in hand, and I go to a half pipe. Does everyone know what a half pipe is? It's like a ramp which goes, it looks like a U. And I went to the top. It wasn't very high. I'm not going to make this sound more daring than it was. It was maybe like that or something, but So I'm on the top of this half pipe, and you do something called a drop-in, which is where you stand on the edge and you push the board and you just roll down it and into the half pipe. And for good skateboarders, it was as easy as walking. It was nothing. But I was quite nervous. I thought, I'm going to give this a go. I want to drop in. There may have been girls watching. There may have been. It wasn't here, which is what I'm so glad about at this point, because we probably wouldn't be married if you saw what happened next. But there was maybe 50 people on the skate park, and so I get on it, and people, and I've been in the church for a while, so people knew me. So they start, yeah, go on, yes, Sam, go on, you should drop in, you should do it. Go on, Sam, you can, yeah. I'm thinking, yeah, they believe in me. This is it. Like, yes, what great advice. Anything to help? Nah, just lean forward and go. I thought, great. It's easy. Surely the wheels will just land and I'll go. It'll be that easy. The one thing they didn't tell me is that you have to keep your body weight over the skateboard as you lean in. Otherwise, the skate wheels have minds on their own, apparently. You're meant to hold the front of the skateboard so that your body sort of stays like that and goes. It's a little bit nervous, but you stay on the board, which is the aim of the game. I didn't know that, and I just thought what I'll do is I'll just put pressure on the front of the skateboard and I'll just drop it. And what my body naturally did was go, oh, don't like that. I'm going to lean backwards. Never do that if you're on a skateboard, can I just tell you? Because the board went that way, and I went whoop, like that, and of course the board's going that way, my body's going that way, and then effectively what happens is this leg went at a 90-degree angle that way, this leg went at a 90-degree angle that way, and I slammed down, smacked my head on the thing, and the board just flies off somewhere, and I get up and just sort of like, quite literally like this without a crutch. You can imagine me walking now without a crutch. Just sort of wander away with 50 people in just awe of how poor that attempt was. And just sort of going, oh, I wish we'd known, we would have said something. But because that was my piece of advice. Just go for it. Don't just go for it. Get the right advice before you begin. Get the helpful people that know you well to give you the right advice. Now maybe you might not have a drop-in into a half-pipe on a skateboard story, but maybe you've got a story of a piece of advice that was given to you. Something that was said to you that wasn't really that helpful, or they didn't know you enough. Maybe it wasn't even advice. Maybe it was a word that was said to you years ago, or yesterday, that actually, if they knew you, they'd know they shouldn't say that. That wouldn't have been helpful. Maybe it was a word from a father or a boss that says, oh, you're not going to be anything. You'll never do that. You'll never go there. Or maybe it was a failed relationship that made you think, oh, I'll never be good enough to get in for that person or for this type of person, or maybe I'll do that. And we all have these things where all of a sudden we're given these wrong pieces of advice, so we sit in front from this experience and we go, and it changes how we look at things going forward. And we meet this sort of situation here in 1 Samuel 17 with David, and it's sort of in the image of an armour. That advice I want you to picture as a piece of armour, and I'm going to explain what that looks like. Let me just explain the backstory. There's two armies. The Israelites, the people of God, that's who David was part of the Israelites. And imagine and another army, they're called the Philistines. Now they would meet on two neighbouring hills, which I'm so gutted we can't see the other side. But imagine, we are the Israelite army, and we are stood here looking over on the other side, and on the farm over there are the Philistines. Sorry guys, don't worry about it, they're gone. At the end of it, they're gone. They're the Philistines. And back in the day, often the armies would charge and they would fight, and many deaths would happen. But sometimes they would choose a champion. They would choose a champion of the army, and they would say, send forward your strongest person, and we will have a one-to-one battle, and whoever wins that will decide who won the war, who won this particular battle. And so the Philistines sent forward a man called Goliath. I should change man to absolute monster called Goliath. The Bible says he was over 9 feet tall. He was a giant. He was bred for war. He was bred from a young boy to fight. Imagine Chris and add a few extra inches on top. That's what we're talking about. A big guy, known about war, knows how to fight. And then the Israelites are looking around and they've got no one. And Goliath walks for 40 days. He walks down to the bottom of the hill. He says, come and fight me. Send me your champion. And he taunts the Israelites. He taunts them. And so the Israelites are facing it. And they have an army full of people, head to toe in armour, head to toe, trained to be warriors. And not a single one of them will fight. Not a single one of them will step forward. And David comes. David is the youngest of, I think it's 8 or 9 brothers. Around that. He's a big family, let's put it that way. And he's not thought of at all. He's undermined, he's not thought of. You can see that in the story when Samuel goes to anoint a king. The dad, Jesse, comes in, he says, these are my sons, and he only brings out the top 8, I think it is. And he says, him, no. And he says, have you got any more sons? And basically he says, I have got this guy David, he's shepherding in the field. That's how little he thought of him. When he was asked to bring out his sons, he didn't even bring out David. And so David is so ill thought of within that family, not disliked, but just, you're just a shepherd boy. That's it. That's all you're going to be. And the dad says, go and take your sandwiches to your brothers. Go and take the sandwiches. Go and take these and go. And then come back and tend your sheep. So he goes and he sees them, and he sees this Goliath taunting. And the King Saul, the king of the Israelites at the time, he's put up like a bounty. He said, if you win, I'm going to, you can have wives and your family don't have to pay taxes. And David keeps asking people, is that true? Is that what the reward is? Is this who's that? Keeps asking questions. And it gets back to Saul, and Saul calls for him into the tent. And this is where we pick up the story, and it's at verse 32, 1 Samuel 17, verse 32, and it says this. David says this. Don't worry about the Philistine, David told Saul. I'll go fight him. Don't be ridiculous, Saul replied. There's no way you could fight this Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth. But David persisted. I have been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. When a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. I have done this to both lions and bears, and I'll do it to this pagan Philistine too, for he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine. Saul finally consented. All right, go ahead, he said, and may the Lord be with you. Then Saul gave David, here we go, his own armor, a bronze helmet and a coat of mail. David put it on, strapped the sword over it, and took a step or two to see what it was like, for he had never worn such things before. I can't go in these, he protested to Saul. I'm not used to them. So David took them off again. He picked up 5 smooth stones from a stream and put them into his shepherd's bag. Then armed only with his shepherd's staff and sling, he started across the valley to fight the Philistine. So what do we have? We have an army of warriors dressed head to toe in armor, trained, prepared, ready for this moment. And on a single one says, yeah, I'll step up. And yet we have a small shepherd boy, undermined, not thought of, not prepared to be, no one thinks he's going to be anything. And he walks and he says, I'll fight him. I'll fight him. I want to look at the how, but first I want to get to the what. What happens? What happens in between him saying, yeah, I'll fight, and him leaving the tent? So King Saul, he accepts David's offer. And what does he do? He wants to be helpful. He wants to be like those people at the skate park. Go, yeah, go for it. Just push in. And so he goes, the only thing I can think of to say, hey, take my armor. Take this. This is what I use. This is what everyone else out there has used. Why don't you take some of my armor and you can wear that, and then that might give you a chance. That might stand you in some stead of beating this giant. But effectively what he's saying is, here, be like me. Attack this situation as I would. Do it as I think it makes sense to me. Because that's the only thing I can think to do. And of course, David politely tries it on. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where someone goes, just do what I did. Or you're not sure how to spend your money, spend it like I did. Or you don't know where to put your time serving in church or outside with me. Oh, just do what I did. And do you know what? There's wisdom. There's wisdom in hearing other people. But if they're your first port of call, we are really going to miss a mark. Because David had to know who he was before he decided whether or not what was helpful to take. So Saul says, be like me, I want the best for you, I want you to win. But here's the key, it didn't fit. It didn't fit. It wasn't David's armor. It wasn't his armor to wear, it wasn't his armor to bear. It was too heavy, it restricted him, and he couldn't do it. And here's what I want to think of, because if he goes into that war with Goliath, and he's just dressed in armor, he can't move, and he's not free to throw that sling and that rock, he probably doesn't win. And you know what? There's something in us that we say, yeah, I'm gonna listen to your wisdom. I'm gonna listen to what you're saying before we actually go, what is maybe God saying to me? What has God put in me? What is my natural thing? Because here's the thing, David was more willing to fight Goliath with a rock than he was with a sword and a shield and armor. Yeah. And he's not putting his faith in the rock, just to give you a clue. His faith isn't in what that little thing that someone's trying to put on you. And there's wisdom and there's guidance, and we all listen to that from leadership, from friends, from all these other sources. But we have to know what God is calling us into for ourselves. I'm a twin. I have lived in comparison my whole life. I have lived in a state of, well, that's what Luke's doing, so maybe Luke looks like people think this of Luke, and but I need to know what God's put in me. I need to know what God has said. Do you know what, Sam? You'll be fine with a rock and a sling and a staff. But God, I want to put on the armour of what other people are saying, but it's not for you. It doesn't fit you. Maybe for a season, advice will help us, but if we haven't gone to God first, I'm telling you, it's dangerous territory. It's dangerous territory. Let me just say something on taking someone else's armour, because when we take someone else's armour, of course I'm talking about whether it's advice or an opinion or something they've said to you, we take broken armour, because I am broken. If I gave you advice, hopefully it's godly wisdom, but every so often I'll have chinks in my armour, and I'll say, oh, wear this, it's broken. Or you need to do this. But you know what, sometimes God is saying, actually, well, what am I saying to you? And I pray that every time you come and speak to me, if you ever seek me for advice, you've gone to God first, and then hopefully what I say will match with what God's saying to your spirit. We've got to get in the habit of going to God first, to saying to God, what is it about me? What is it about me that you've put in me, that you've created in me? Because we look at David and he does the only thing he knew what to do, he was himself. He says, thanks. But actually, I'm just going to take my staff. I'm okay. I'm going to take off that armour that doesn't work. And I want to potentially bring up this point that David's past was his armour. David's past was his armour. Let's just think about that for a second. What does that mean? I'm not saying, you can get through everything on your own because of what you've been through, but I believe that God doesn't waste anything of your life. If you have been through struggle and pain, I believe that God wants to use that to prepare you for something more. If you have been through joys and celebration, I believe He wants to use that to encourage you to do more, or to step out in faith for someone, or to encourage someone else as you have been encouraged. David looked at his past and went, no, God's got me through that before. So he's going to get me through it now. I don't need your armour. It might have been helpful for one of your soldiers, but I'm not being funny, but there's an army of soldiers in armour outside, and not a single one of them is going to go fight. I think I'm going to stay with my staff and my sling, because I believe it's what God's put in me. I believe it's what fits me. I believe it's what releases me. It doesn't weigh me down, whether it's expectations of a boss or a family or a friend. We all have these things. We have unhealthy expectations. Sometimes expectations of your partner, how they're going to treat, sometimes it's going to be unhealthy expectations of me, of what I can do for you as your pastor. Sometimes it's going to be unhealthy expectations of your friends, or bad advice, or those things, and we say, oh, well, I'll just take it and I'll hold it, but actually it's restricting you. Sometimes we need to take it off and say, God, what should I expect from my relationship? What should I expect from my boss? What are you telling me about my past? What are you telling me about my friendships, my advice? There are things where God is saying, I need you to take off the armour that other trying people are going to put on you and step into what I've called you to be. God will not waste your past. He wants to use it. He wants to use it. God's promises do not come back void. If He has promised something to you, hold firm, hold fast, because it's coming. It's coming. I promise you that. I promise you that God's word does not come back void. But I want to keep going, and in fact, I was meant to do this at the start, but that's okay. I want to just quickly invite Ange up, if that's all right. Because the next part of it is, how does David go from being in a tent with no armour to stood before a giant and still not be in that armour? So Ange, I wonder if you could just come out. Now, we've been praying for a lot of people recently, but sometimes we don't hear of the positive come back. And I just want to just take a short time, and Ange, just to sort of give us a little update and a little celebration of what's been going on.
I don't know if you all know, but we've been praying for a gentleman called Elim. Billy had a cancer operation. He is part of our family and also a very good friend. He went through a 13-hour operation. They told us that when he came out of the operation that he'd been in intensive care for 3 days. So we got on the prayer chain and we asked everyone to pray, and he
he was basically in intensive care overnight. He woke up and they told him that he'd been in intensive care for, well, actually, even in recovery for about 4 days. And that afternoon, he went straight to a ward. He's absolutely amazing. He's doing wonderful. Because of the cancer, he can't talk. They told us that maybe in a year or whatever, he may be able to start eating. He's fed through a peg. But we went out to see him last night, and he is absolutely amazing. Yesterday, he had 3 meals. He had 3 puri meals. He's drinking 5 cups of coffee a day, and they told us that all the drinks that he'd have would be through his peg. So we said to him, see, God does answer prayer, Bill. And he kept like this, and he kept listening up and saying, yeah, brilliant. So and the family just want to say thank you all for praying. It's a miracle really, because they never thought that he'd come on so well. He's walking around, he's in his own little way. He's got a notepad, he's going up to people, he's talking in his own way, and people are just amazed, and the family is just amazed at where we've come on. So thank you everyone for praying.
Things happen when we pray. Just let me say that. Things happen when we pray. That's why we stand in prayer. I know we've got a lot of still prayer requests ongoing, but we're still fighting, and we will keep fighting. And that's why the prayer chain is so important, that we can stand with one another and support each other in prayer. But why I wanted Angela to share that, thank you for sharing that, is because David walks out of a tent, past an army dressed in armour. He walks down a hill, and he stands as probably a mid-5-foot boy before a 9-and-something-foot giant. And not for 1 second does he think, I'm going to turn around and get that armour, actually. Because I think that's what I do. I'd strut out there, like I had the Bee Gees playing in my head, and I'd walk down, and when I was looking at a giant like this with a sword and a shield, I think I might be tempted to run back. But what does David do? And I think this is the hat. And I think this is something that I really want us to pick up on. There is a difference between not wearing someone else's armour and actually fighting a battle without it. Okay? There's something different about not wearing some, hey, my boss puts expectations on me and pressures on me, but I'm not wearing that armour, I don't need that. But the next time he hands you a piece of work, anxiety reigns supreme. You don't know what to do, and you don't know how to attack it, and you get stressed. Or that relationship that never worked, and it's this army, I'm not good enough. No, I am good enough for a relationship. I'm going to be fine, but then the next person that comes in for a potential relationship, everything goes to pot, and you can't connect, and you hold them at arm's distance. There's a difference between taking off your armour, but then addressing the next issue without it. So what does David do? Well, I want to read verse 37 again, because I think it gives away a huge, huge point. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine. Guys, when we give God the glory for victories in our past, it allows us to expect Him to have the victory in the future. But this is really clear. If David had made it about himself, if David had said, I beat that lion, I beat that bear, that was me, I was strong, I learned how to beat it, then the next time he has to address a situation, he has to apply his own strength against the thing that's in front of him. You get what I'm saying? The moment we take God out of our past, we struggle to put Him in our future. When we take God out of our past, when we take Him out of the victories, when we take Him out of the successes, when we take Him out of the times that we struggled but we knew He was there, then how can we apply Him in our future? There was an entire army of applying their training from their past in their own strength and their confidence in their own ability and their own armour, and put it on Goliath and said, I don't match up. I don't match up to that. I can't defeat that physically one-on-one. I can't. I'm not trained, I'm not equipped, I'm not big enough. But David doesn't make his past about him. He says, God, you had the victory. And so guess what? You're going to have a victory again. God, you helped me defeat those things in my past. So guess what? You're going to defeat these things in my future. God, I have seen you heal sick people. So when I have to pray for Billy, I pray in faith, not in doubt. I have seen you provide financially for myself and my friends. And so next time I'm struggling with finance, I believe in you for my future. Not for me to provide, not for me to figure things out, not for me to get myself through. When we take God out of our past, it's so much harder to put him in our future. It's so much harder to see the future through his eyes, through his victory, through what he is capable of doing. And you know what? The devil's lie, he says two lies. One, you're not capable. But I think it's as dangerous if he says to you, you can do this on your own. Because if he says you're not capable, it breeds fear. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I don't have the tools. I don't have the strength. It breeds fear. But when he tells you that you can do it on your own, I promise you it'll only breed ego, which breeds disappointment. Because you can't match up. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Bible tells us, for all have fallen short of the glory of God. There are going to be battles that look like Goliath that we aren't good enough to get past. We aren't big enough. We aren't strong enough. We don't have the answers. We don't have the strategy. We need to come to that acceptance that, you know what, guys, we are broken, but we are loved, and we are represented. We need to make the reality check that we're not going to get past this thing in front of us. Some things, yeah, okay, we can push through on our own. I don't recommend it. But there are times where you are going to face something, a situation, a relationship, a financial struggle, an issue that you say, I can't beat that. But ladies and gentlemen, if we say, hold on, who got me through my past? Who got me through that struggle? Who got me through that pressure? Who got me through that expectation? Who got me through that difficulty? It was God. I rested in God's hands. I gave it back to God. So who's going to get me through it? All of a sudden, Goliath shrinks a little bit. He's not 9 foot anymore. Because when I put myself next to that struggle, I'm too small. But when you put God next to that struggle, there's just nothing in comparison. God is a provider. God is a healer. God is a father. He is a friend. He directs our steps. We have to know these things about God because actually the reality is when we put him in our past, it unlocks a possibility, a future that we never thought possible. And we've been looking a lot at David, but guys, what have we been taking God out of our past in? That difficulty at home, that struggle at work, that relationship that kept breaking down, and you got it, but wasn't God in there with you? Didn't God give you the wisdom? I believe God moves before we have faith or not. I believe he's there. We believe that God holds us. He guides us. And so can I tell you, even if you've been a Christian 1 week, 1 year, or 10 years, or 100 years, God was in your past. You just maybe didn't see it. You maybe just didn't know what he was doing. But can I promise he was there? He was there. And we need to get into the habit of going, God, you got me through that time. You got me through that time where I didn't know what to do. And so, God, when I don't know what to do here, I'm going to lean on you. I'm going to lean completely on you. I'm going to give it to you. And if you are here and you've never been to Sunday school, and you don't know the end of the David and Goliath story, let me just spell it out for you. Because it's a great ending. David walks down, and Goliath says, I'm going to feed your body to the birds, and your army, your people will be mine. We will rule you. And David says, you come with a sword and a shield, but I come in the name of the Lord. The Lord of Israel, God of Israel armies. I come in the name of the Lord. And he picks up that stone, and he sticks it in his sling, and he swings it round, and he lets go. And it buries him between Goliath's eyes, and Goliath falls dead. And the Philistines flee, and the Israelites chase them. And that day, not David, not a stone, not a sling, the Lord of Israel's armies gave them victory. And I would encourage you that as we stand, that feels like many, many thousands of years ago. And it was. But the story of Billy wasn't. The story of God providing finance for me to come here isn't. I can look around this room and I can point, and I'm sure every single one of us can go, Kelsey's home. These things are happening. My life has changed in a moment. I got saved. God has provided. He's healed. He's made a way. These are the things that when we go, not only in my life, not only did God get me through my life, but I am in a room of people where God has been with them every step of the way. He has provided. He has directed. He has guided. He has been faithful and loving and kind. Can we imagine what it would be like if instead of looking at what's in front of us and putting our own ability there, we said, God, what could be possible if you stepped in? What could be possible if I got out of the way and I let you take control? I let you guide my steps. If I let you tell me how to spend my money, if I let you tell me how to treat my wife, if I let you tell me and teach me and train me and guide me how to do these things, what could actually be possible? I hope it's exciting. I hope there's something in your head where you're thinking, actually, that thing in front of me, I don't need to make it about me anymore, because it's not, and it'll never be. And if we make it about us, we'll walk out in this restricting armor, and we'll get beat. We'll get beat. But when we say, God, would you give me an image of the future because I believe you've done it in my past? Would you not let me wear the armor of either advice or words that have been spoken over me in the past that make me change how I see a situation? What could be possible? What could be possible? Let me just say this. We're all wearing armor. We're all wearing some form of word that's been spoken, advice that's been given, frustration that we've had, things that we think that people have said that are best for us, something that we think God maybe wants us to do or that other people want us to do, but God doesn't. We need to take moments in our lives to say, God, am I comparing myself to other pastors? Am I trying to be that pastor I see on the internet? Am I trying to be that husband I saw in a Hollywood movie which just isn't real? Can I be real? Like that's a big thing. I've got a big issue with Hollywood, rom-coms, not because I hate watching them, but because it's created an expectation which I think so many of us have not noticed we're wearing. We're putting armor on that says, my husband or partner or wife or whatever needs to be like this, or my love life needs to be like this because then it's so perfect and I can Instagram it and I look just lovely and I can put all the best filters on. It's an unreal expectation. The things when we watch Friends and they never seem to work. When do they ever go to work? They're just in the coffee shop or at home. And we get to say, wouldn't it just be if I just... There's realities, there's armors we're putting on, and sometimes we don't even notice. We need to reflect and we say, God, I don't want to wear the armor of society. I don't want to wear the armor of someone who, even if they wanted the best for me, wanted me to drop in and almost break my leg skateboarding. I don't want that. What are you saying to me? What have you created in me? What's the shepherd boy in me? What's that thing that you're calling me to be? The Bible says, if you're generous, be generous. If you're kind, be kind. If you're a preacher, if you're a teacher, teach. If you're an encourager, encourage. What's that thing that God's put inside of you, and how can you use it? And secondly, if you've got to that point where you're saying, I've taken that armor off, I feel like I don't allow that past relationship or that past struggle to get in the way, but all of a sudden I'm facing a giant and I make it about me again. I put the armor back on, or I try and figure out how I can beat this thing on my own. We need to recognize that actually we need to start putting God back in our past and then putting him in our future. And saying, God, where are you going with this? What's possible if I let you take control? What would be possible if I handed this to you and said, God, have your way? What does Jesus say on the cross? He's honest. Before the cross in Gethsemane, he says, Lord, if you can, take this cup from me. But then what does he end with? Your will be done. Lord, your will be done. For a moment, it seems like Jesus is going, I can't do this, and then he turns his gaze, he says, no, God, actually, you're going to do this. So your will be done. Whatever it looks like, your will be done. I was wondering if we could bow our heads and close our eyes and just take a moment to think about those two things. Maybe you're, as I've been talking about armor or putting on something, an expectation or a word from the past or things that people have said to us that we think, actually, I don't know. Is that really what God said to me? If that's you, maybe you need to go back to God and say, God, I need your advice, or I need your guidance, or I need you to take that word of disappointment and put a word of pride into me. And maybe you're here and you're saying, do you know what, Sam, I don't feel like I'm in an armor, but when I step forward and I face situations, I always put myself next to the situation. It's always bigger than me. And it creates anxiety, or it creates a worry in me, a worry that drives me downwards. Sam, I don't want to just leave God out of my past, or I just don't want to leave him in my past. I want to expect him for the future. I want to release my future into his hands. I want to allow this situation I'm going through to be his, to be guided by him, to be blessed by him. Jesus, just reveal it into our hearts, God, what you're saying to us. God, reveal in our hearts the armour that we're wearing that maybe we didn't even know about. And we let it dictate how we can move, and it restricts us, and we feel weighed down by it, God. But it was never what you created for us. It doesn't fit us. God, help us to take it off and help us to leave it off. Help us to be guided by what you're saying to us. Help us to be empowered by what you've said and promised to us. And Father, for those that they see a situation, maybe they're looking one right between the eyes right now and they just don't know how to face it. And all they can do is put their own abilities up next to it and recognize that they're not good enough. They'll never match up. God, I pray that you would guide us to recognize your victories in our past. God, don't let us take you out of our past. Let us celebrate what you've done in us and let it empower us to believe in something greater for the future. Help us to let go. Help us to let go of our hands that grasp at control and release control to you, the God of Israel armies who has the victory. Let us release our plans and our efforts to try and strive to be the best and to get through life just on our own energy. Let us release them back to you, God. We let go. We let go, Holy Spirit. Come and have your way in us. I'm just gonna leave it open. We're gonna have a song playing on the sound system. We're gonna stay in this situation of prayer, this attitude of prayer. If maybe that's you and you feel really powerful, actually I need to head up to the front. I need to receive prayer from someone. I just need to go deeper with God. Then we're gonna leave this space. That if you would like to, then I'm just gonna invite. I'm gonna be here. You can come to the front, and whether it's you're wearing an armor and you want to take it off, or you want to allow God into your future, then I'm just going to ask you, we're just going to let the music play and just make your way up to the front. If that's not you, just take time, listen to God and what he's saying. Whenever you're ready, make your way up.
ladies and gentlemen, as we ponder on these things that we had shared with us, we need to spend some time on this for ourselves, don't we? But the promises that Sam has reminded us of are for every one of us. So let's take God into our future, into our afternoon, into our week, and put all those struggles and things up ahead against Him, and they will pale into insignificance. But He doesn't take them away, but He goes with us into them. So let us rest on that promise. We can share tea and coffee, but also share fellowship, because actually that's more important. May you be blessed in the week and in the home that you have, but take God with you. So be blessed. Amen.